Welcome back to the Rory Talks Football channel, your daily Arsenal news, updates, debates and my opinions. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. We are flying at the moment. The next target is 3,500 subscribers. Smash a like on the video if you enjoy it as well. Today, bit of a bumper episode. Obviously, I missed an upload yesterday. There wasn't a whole lot of news and I was doing a lot of travelling. But today we've got updates on Rice, on Timber, Havertz, Xavi Simons, Nwaneri, Balogun. It's a bumper episode starting, of course, with Declan Rice. The saga continues. Fabrizio Romano came out today and said Manchester City and Arsenal both want to bid for Declan Rice this week. More to follow. Now, he's the only person at this stage that believes Man City are preparing, or he says wanting to bid. Now, wanting to bid isn't something that we hear very often. You normally hear about a club preparing to bid, not wanting to bid, because I don't really know what that means. If they want to bid, they'll bid. So it's an interesting phrasing. But other than that, it continues to be quite positive for Arsenal. So Ben Jacobs, I think he was on the Football Terrace earlier today, he said the deal is getting closer. Arsenal will bid a third time and there is a willingness from all parties to get this done. This is in Arsenal's hands. This is about Arsenal getting a deal done with West Ham. He then went on to say Arsenal need to agree a deal with West Ham. That's the only thing that matters in all of this. There is a third bidding coming. It might go in today, certainly will do by midweek. If it's good enough, Declan Rice will be an Arsenal player. And ultimately, we are still in this position where Declan Rice wants Arsenal. He's chosen Arsenal. We said that a couple of days ago. And so Man City, really all they could ever do if they were going to get him would be to blow Arsenal out of the water with a bid. And it seems like Arsenal just aren't willing to go away that easily financially. A couple of days ago, Fabrizio Romano, when he was talking about Jurrien Timber to Arsenal, replied to someone. Someone asked about whether it would be days, hours or days before Jurrien Timber got sorted. And Fabrizio's reply said it depends on Rice. And that suggested that basically there wouldn't be an update on on Timber until we'd got Rice done, that we were waiting to get Rice done before progressing with Timber. And what follows on from that is that Timber is very nearly done, and lots of news today about a second bid going in, which would suggest that we still do feel like Rice is in our hands. And so really every other report today has come out. Actually, it's regressed almost. So Simon Collins said, and I'm paraphrasing because I've not written it down, Simon Collins said that Man City still express an interest in Declan Rice. So it's gone from, you know, the tail end of last week, it was Man City are going to bid imminently for Declan Rice. It's gone back down to Man City hold an interest. Now, there's a theory that Man City don't want to put a bid in almost until they've agreed a deal with Declan Rice, because they know if they put a bid in, Arsenal will just match it. There's also a feeling, and this is my feeling, if you want my opinion on it, really West Ham are just desperate for a bidding war, and they're not getting it. Arsenal and Man City are almost behaving too professionally for West Ham, in the sense that neither club wants a bidding war, because it's neither in Arsenal or West Ham, Man City's interests to have a bidding war, and so they're just not getting sucked into it. And so I think what we saw last week was that journalists were briefed by West Ham to say that Man City were about to bid, and it was never going to happen. Man City are also tied up in a nearly £100 million deal for Josip Guardiola as well. So they're not going to be involved in £200 million deals at the same time. So overall, I am confident that Declan Rice gets done this week, and I'm keeping my hair, thank the Lord. On to Jurrien Timber, as I alluded to. Big update from Fabrizio today. Arsenal have submitted a second official proposal to Ajax in order to get Jurrien Timber deal done this week. Talks are advancing between the clubs after a £30 million opening bid was rejected. Personal terms agreed last week on a 5-year contract. We also heard yesterday, and then again this morning from Sami Mokbel, who's Tier 1, Jurrien Timber will earn a minimum £90,000 a week at Arsenal, with achievable add-ons that will push his wage closer to £120,000 a week. Those terms will be formally agreed once Arsenal and Ajax reach an agreement over a transfer fee. And this is the key bit. Timber is eager to join Arsenal, with the move expected to be wrapped up quickly once the two clubs strike a deal. And there is a feeling, because Sven Misselslack is at Ajax, who was formerly at Arsenal, and there is a feeling that the relationship is very good between Arsenal and Ajax because of that. And look, this deal's going to get done. It's not announced yet, it's not official yet, but it is going to get done. And like I've said before, this is an under-the-radar signing because of everything that's happening with Rice and Havertz. It's a sensational signing. I uploaded a video on TikTok today talking about the fact that, you know, some people are talking about Timber immediately coming into the starting lineup. I think that'll be tricky. People talking about Saliba and Timber being an amazing centre-back partnership. I don't think that'll be the case at all. Gabriel's not going to get dropped. Timber isn't coming in as a left centre-back. I think ultimately what Jurrien Timber is and will be is back up to Saliba, back up to Ben White, potentially overtakes Ben White at some point in that right-back role, and certainly the best option if we want the right-back to be inverting rather than the left-back. He's the best option for that. So he's just going to be serious competition for Saliba and Ben White, where last season I don't really think they were massively pushed in that sense. So it's such a massive standard raiser across our defence, which is fantastic. But it will take him time to adapt. You know, Eredivisie is not the Premier League. It will take him time to adapt to the level that we play at and the system that we play in. But I've no doubt he's capable of doing that. Kai Havertz is basically deal done. Kai Havertz has already completed the first part of the medical as a new Arsenal player, just awaiting for the contracts to be signed on the club side. That's coming from Fabrizio. Deal from Chelsea will be completed this week. And actually, yesterday we got a couple of hints that it is definitely done. The first of those was Mikel Arteta was doing an interview with Marca in Spain, and he was asked about Declan Rice, and he said, "I refuse to talk about a player from another club," which is fair enough, and he always says that when he's asked about players that we're interested in. But he was asked about Kai Havertz, and he didn't say that. He said Kai Havertz is a wonderful player, versatile, talented 24-year-old, yada, yada, yada. Basically confirming that deal is already done. And then also Havertz, Jorginho and Kovacic were all at Kepa's wedding. And Jorginho put an Instagram post up with him and Kai Havertz and a bunch of eye emojis. Again, teasing that it is done. And look, I'm excited for it. I'm really just excited to see how Kai Havertz fits in and how he works. Xavi Simons, I mentioned it at the start. So this is coming from L'Equipe. Obviously, there was some interest in Xavi Simons at the start of the window, and we got quite excited about it. I was quite excited about it. And L'Equipe said Arsenal are chasing a cut price deal for Xavi Simons as PSG lose ground. So effectively, we are currently leading the race for him. Now, after the Reece Nelson deal got agreed, I kind of assumed that Xavi Simons was off the table. Even though they don't play necessarily in a similar position, I don't think Xavi Simons is a right winger in the same way that Reece Nelson is. It felt like we're kind of maxed out in an attacking sense, especially when you also then add in Kai Havertz. So there is two possibilities here. One is that, you know, we're 5 days out from the end of the month. Reece Nelson still hasn't signed a new contract. Or it's not been announced that he has. So potentially that isn't actually officially done yet, and Reece Nelson could still leave. But also potentially Xavi Simons comes in, maybe Fabio Vieira does go out on loan. It feels like, and Arteta has said this before, he looks for value in the market. And it feels like Xavi Simons could be exceptionally good value because of the way that he's leaving PSV. And, you know, you look at, I was reading some things from Ajax fans earlier, and they're begging for someone to take Xavi Simons because they just don't want him to be at PSV anymore. He was sensational for them last season. He looked really good against Arsenal, to be fair, in the Europa League. So, one to keep an eye on, I would say. One to keep an eye on. Could get a very good deal for him. Ethan Nwaneri, obviously we know, fantastic academy product, massively high ceiling, but we know that Man City and Chelsea have been very interested in him, sniffing around him, and potentially he's not been getting the best advice. And this came from Felix Johnston yesterday, who said, exclusive, understand Chelsea have tabled an offer to Arsenal starlet Ethan Nwaneri. Nwaneri is still yet to sign a scholarship with Arsenal, which is true. He still hasn't made a firm decision on his future. All doors are open, but Chelsea are really pushing. Now, Felix Johnston as a source is an interesting one because I've actually met him at a charity game. Really nice guy, but he's similar to me. He's not like a traditional journalist or anything. He's a content creator, but I do think he has some sources at the club. So, one to keep an eye on. It's feeling ominous that Nwaneri is going to go because Arsenal just don't pay that sort of money to academy products. It's just not the way that we operate, and City and Chelsea do. So I really hope he stays. I do think he's got a really bright future, but there's not a lot we can do about that. And then Folarin Balogun. This is coming from Sky today. Talks have taken place between Arsenal and the representatives of Folarin Balogun over his future. Balogun wants regular first-team football after his successful loan spell at Rome last season, and it's thought he wants to make a permanent move away from North London, which we kind of already knew. The one good thing coming out of this, though, from Sky, is that one source has told Sky Sports the Gunners' valuation is now 50 million for a player who still has 2 years left on his contract. Now, I've always felt like Balogun was probably going to go this summer, but we were hearing 30, 35 million earlier in the window. If we're valuing him at 50 million, which I think is a far fairer representation of what his value should be as a young, obviously he's not English anymore, but he's still homegrown, so he fills the quota for homegrown talent in the Premier League. He is worth that much money when you look at what other strikers around the world are going for. So I'm glad that we've upped that supposedly to 50 million, if that is the truth. And look, if we got 50 million for him, I would probably take it, because there is no guarantee that he's going to start. Well, he's not going to start next season, truthfully. I still don't think he's ready for that. And he doesn't necessarily fit into the general system that we play, the sort of role that Gabriel Jesus plays. So 50 million would really be quite good for him. Is there anyone around the world that's going to pay 50 million for him? That's another question. That is another question, and I'm not sure the answer is yes. But if no one's willing to pay 50 million, we keep him, and I'd be happy with that as well. So talks are progressing. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that one. Obviously, as always, I will update you on all of these on this channel as soon as there are any big updates. Follow me on social media if you want shorter updates, and please do subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you have a fantastic evening. I'll be back tomorrow. Cheers.